Welcome to the coffee break. My name is Frank Joop here at Intergraph in Huntsville. And today's topic, I want to talk about start at the end. And normally you would say, you start at the beginning. But I think when you do a project, sometimes it is very good to start at the end, realizing what you have to produce. That will save a lot of time and a lot of aggravation when you're in the middle of the project. So let's take a look, how that will work by starting at the end. Okay, let's start at the end. Like I said before, it maybe sounds strange to start at the end, but if you do a project, it is good to think about what the end goal and end deliverables are, because it can help you, to create enough content and infrastructure and workflows that you don't have to redo stuff or waste time while you're doing the project execution. Now, some of the things, I wrote down some little bullets, is that first of all, you have to look at the end deliverables. That sounds like an obvious thing to do, and maybe you don't know all of them, but certainly, in certain contracts or based on some previous designs and experience, what kind of deliverables you need to create on projects. So if you know that, then you can already start to create some content for instance, symbol libraries or pipe specs, or make sure that you have your content ready to support these deliverables that you have to create for your project. Now, the other thing is best practice. Of course, we want to learn from the past and make it better and reuse the things that went well and forget the things that didn't go that well, of course. So look back, in previous type of projects, what have you done? Look at maybe the drawing list, the deliverable list, the things that had happened, and learn from that and see if that can help you to set up your product early on to make sure that, like I said, that you don't have to redo things or create things halfway and then change things, because that is costing hours, and normally that's not what we want to do and waste some of the hours. Now, important and also a very difficult one is take a look at the work process. Typically, and I've been there myself, we have this view of creating the deliverables as, okay, we have this hard copy, like a drawing, and have this thing in mind of creating it with a CAD system. But today, the solutions we have today are not CAD-based, but they're about data. They're about data. So you have to think about, when you do the work process, how you can create and maintain that data, and don't worry about the deliverables as yet. Just wait if you can, unless you have certain milestone, of course, when you have created deliverables in order to get maybe some payments or so from the client, but wait before you create the deliverables, because the deliverables are more or less, like a report out of the system, and you don't have to do it like in the past, that you have to create it either by hand or the old days or by a CAD system. Just create the data and wait with producing the deliverables. I think that is also something that maybe you can consider and would help. Now, the other thing, of course, is managing risk, and that's easier said than done, of course, but I've got two bullets what you maybe can think about. Is the one is about, of course, knowledge-based, and that's one of the things that I'm very keen on myself, is that you can create rules that will help you to check your design while you're going, and like I always said, make the right decision early on. So if you have a project, like for instance, for Shell is a good example, but other owners like Aramco and so on, they have the same thing. They have what they call the DEP, is the design engineering practice, and Aramco also has something similar, and I'm sure that ExxonMobil and other owners have the same thing. Now, it would be good, if you upfront early on can capture those key design parameters and rules and put them into a rule system. So when you do the design on your P&ID or any instrumentation or in 3D, it doesn't really matter. You can actually run those rules, or run the rules while you do design, or do them at certain stages of the design, to make sure that you're doing the right thing early on. So create the rules up front and take a look at this up front. In the old days, we had all these books with these rules, and we just kept on looking while we're doing the design and discovering it while we're doing the engineering. If you can pull that up front, look at the end and pull it up front and start with that, that will help you. Now the other thing is about design expertise. Of course, everybody like yourself, you have a lot of expertise in doing certain things, but to manage risk, it's also good to understand what type of vendors you may have in this project. For instance, if you have an automation vendor, you know, all plants these days, they have automation vendors for DCS systems. Maybe it's good upfront to understand, you know, what part of the scope of work you can actually leave to the MAC, the main automation contractor. He has the expertise. He has the people, so maybe it will offset some of the work, but also offset some of the risk, because, you know, they do that and you don't have to worry about it. You know, you don't have to do everything. So that's maybe another thing. Now, the other thing is the silos, and that is also a difficult thing to maybe break down these silos. You have the different disciplines that have silos, but in order to execute these projects, you know, leaner and smoother and faster up front, you have to just understand, you know, who the players are and see if you can break down some of these silos between disciplines, like for instance the control set discipline and the process discipline, and also within the discipline between designers and engineers. You know, if you think about that, if you look at the work process and you can have the different parties work on the same data, like I said before, it's all about data to create the deliverables, you may have a good chance that you can reduce the risk and make the project go smoother when you look up front who the players are and how you can have these players work together and integrate them. Now the last thing is focus, and I have a car manufacturing, and I know that we are not in car manufacturing, but I was at the car manufacturing plant because I'm fascinated by that whole process of how they put these cars together. And you have, of course, this line where they put the parts in for the car. And I noticed that the person putting in the seat or the steering wheel or whatever he was doing, he has only like a task that lasts 2 minutes. And I asked, you know, why is it so short? Well, they said, for a simple reason, you know, if it's very, very short, it's a very low chance that he makes a mistake. Because he has to focus, and he has to focus on this task that takes 2 minutes and you get it done and next. And okay, it makes sense, you know, maybe a little boring after a while. Say, well, we rotate people. But the reason I'm saying that focus, you know, is also important when you execute this project. So we call that task-based. So you have an environment that will allow you to focus on the deliverable that you used to have to create or the task you have to do. And I think that will help also. And if you in the beginning, you know, think about these particular tasks that you have and create an environment that people are allowed or are enabled to focus, I think that will be then to your advantage in executing this project. So these are some things I wanted to discuss about starting at the end. Like I said, normally you wouldn't think about starting at the end, but you start at the beginning. But some of the things that are listed and some of the suggestions I gave, maybe it will help you to think, oh, wait a minute, you know, the next project we're doing, maybe these are the things that we need to consider, so it avoids, you know, wasting time or redoing deliverables or redoing reference data, and take advantage of vendors and knowledge base to get this project executed in the right and smooth way, and your client is happy, and you make it return business, what we're all about, isn't it? So thanks, and hope to see you in the next coffee break.